everywhere. My name is Anissa from the Faith Empire, and I wanted to make this video today to talk about the karmic twin or the false twin, something that is quite popular around in our circles. And to be honest, I'm not really a big fan of labeling it that way. In fact, the last time I used the word karmic, my guidance and my intuition really resisted that term. And I think the reason why it resists that term is because saying karmic or false doesn't actually do the purpose of that connection justice. It doesn't actually help us to accept that connection as as it was intended. Excuse me. I feel that the reason why is because there are some negative connotations obviously with the word karma, and even with the word false. It kind of robs you of accepting that experience as true and real, or to fully appreciate the purpose of it. And what that does in turn do is it maybe limits us from experiencing the full lesson, which, as we know, if we haven't overcome or transcended a lesson intended for us, that means that we are kind of due to learn that lesson and face different situations in different ways that help us to evolve past where our soul is trying to get us to. I know that was a lot of words, but what I'm saying is that when we use those words, those terms, and especially the beliefs associated with those words, then we're really robbing ourselves of actually fully experiencing it for what it is meant to be. Now, I also had not one, but several people who came across that were very similar, and it confused me so much because I thought oh yeah, this is probably the twin, and it wasn't. And eventually I got to a point where I stopped looking at people with the label, and I started looking at my soul and my spiritual journey and what the situation or person was trying to bring into my life. And the moment that I had that shift, where I walked away from trying to label what it was, I found that I was able to actually help myself a lot more. And I was actually bringing in and drawing in the experiences that were helping to elevate me through love. And then it helped me to understand that I had a choice. I had a choice to learn things through love or through pain. And I know those are very simple dualities, but that is the only way that I can describe it. Is once I got out of thinking that I needed that, that false or that karmic kind of situation, or looking at everything as a false or karmic situation, I helped to shift my belief around what was happening, and I could truly appreciate the lessons that were coming to me. And whether that person was a karmic, was a twin, was a soulmate, the point is that the lessons are still there, and no one can take those lessons away from you. No one can take away the evolution that your soul has now gone through. It doesn't matter who that person was or what that situation is labeled. The point is that once you do transcend it, it's like working out. Once you build a muscle, your body has the inner engineering as to how you did that, and no one can take that away from you. So it doesn't really matter. I know that it does matter in a sense, because when we think it's our twin, we think we need to act differently. And that has stumped me so many times on my journey. That was a big lesson for me. It was when I thought someone was my twin, I was doing things against my intuition. I was doing things against my guidance, my insight. And it was because I thought that was my twin. And I guess on this journey, that's a really big thing for us to understand, is that it's not really about doing things against our guidance because we think someone is someone. It's really about following your guidance and about appreciating everyone, all lessons, and all beings. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the gossip that happens about our divine masculines or about the karmics. We kind of gossip and put it down. And my spiritual journey started many, many years ago. And the first thing I actually did to detox my system was to stop gossiping. And I read that in a book called Conversations with God from Neil Donald Walsh. And it was one thing that I wanted to try because he mentioned how gossip is like spreading poison. And what we do in our society, gossip is a way to bond people. So when you're at work and everyone doesn't like that one person, and you kind of have a gang and you bond and you gossip. But if you're the person who doesn't like to gossip, then you're like the outsider, or you're like the party pooper. And it's the same thing in families. We always have the one person that everyone likes to talk about, and if you don't jump in and do it, then again you're like you're an outsider. And we kind of bond on gossip. And we do it in other things as well. We love to all band together and like all hate on one political party or like one person, and we're bonding through that like negative toxic energy. So sometimes when I go into certain chats or readings, and I see people really talking about their counterpart or just the people along their journey, and they speak like really, really badly. I know that these events happen, and I'm not saying, and I'm not discrediting the pain or the situation at all. I know that they do happen. I know because it's happened to me. But I feel like the point of the journey is to really look at the situation and to really understand the lessons behind it. Because again, if we're so focused on what it is, and how bad it made you feel and how terrible that person is, then we're ignoring like the purpose behind that event and that person, and we're coming back to learn that lesson again. And the other thing is that when we are talking from that perspective, it also means that we're focusing so much on that person, and we're forgetting that they're a soul and that they're an energy as well. And sometimes a person can embody an energy that needs to come through and teach you a lesson. So I always like to say, same lesson, many teachers. And the teacher can be a person, a situation, an event, anything, because the core lessons on our twin flame journey and our spiritual ascension are generally the same core lessons, but some of us have different spectrums that we need to learn them, different wavelengths that we need to achieve and overcome. But the point is, we have these core lessons to help elevate us as spiritual beings on our journey. And we have kind of the same way that we do work through them. Like, we all know that ignoring it doesn't help. We all know that discrediting it or making it an illusion doesn't help. But we know that how to feel it and to transcend those lessons make us stronger. They build our spiritual muscles. And so no one can take those lessons away from you. No one can take away your evolution. So it doesn't matter whether it comes through a karmic, a soulmate, a person, anything. It really doesn't matter. And focusing so much on the label and the negativity behind it, it really takes away the hard work that your soul has been trying to do. And I often thank my karmics and I thank my soulmates. I thank all the tough times in my life, because if it weren't for them, my soul wouldn't have had the opportunity to evolve the way that it did. I hope that helps you, and love to all karmics, soulmates, and twins. And I hope you're safe wherever you are in the world. I look forward to hearing your comments. Thanks, guys. Bye.